Hey gang, how are you? Kevin Goatee, gutting the sacred cow. Here we go again. Brand new episode with a returning guest, Mike Price, whom you may remember, who did Batman Returns, and writes for a little show called The Simpsons and F is for Family on Netflix, has returned to do Academy Award-winning Argo. Before we get into it, do not forget, hey friends, new fans, old friends, whatever, if you have not yet done so, go to iTunes, go to Spotify, Spreaker, Stitcher, Google, whatever. Go to that podcast platform you're on right now, YouTube, and write us a 2 or 3 sentence review, 5-star rating. That really helps. We really appreciate it. And if you're looking to advertise, boost your brand or product, look no further. guttingthesacredcow@gmail.com for you to increase your brand awareness. We can help you build whatever you're looking to build. We're the guys to do it. Drop us a line. guttingthesacredcow.com every single day has, of course, those blogs you love and merch store. Go buy a shirt. Go support us. We could use that hat, bag, shirt, mug, whatever. And don't forget, we're on Patreon. Patreon.com/guttingthesacredcow. A donation bucket is there. What the hell? All this free content. A few bucks wouldn't hurt, right? It just helps keep the lights on, as they say in the biz. Without any more delay of me blabbering, here's Mike Price doing Argo.
Gather round, here's what I know. It's just that this cow has got to go. I know some people kinda like it, yeah, it's trending right now. Yeah, that doesn't matter, cause we're gutting the sacred cow.
I want a keg of beer. Kevin Israel, name that film.
I just saw this film
For the first time?
No, I just recently I chose to rewatch it randomly.
I see.
And you could have done it with the voice inflection.
I'll do it again.
A keg of beer. Teen Wolf.
Very good. I don't. That's too much of a dead giveaway, I thought, so that's why I did not do it. Gutting the sacred cow. How are you, folks? Kevin Goatee, Kevin Israel. We are joined by a fan favorite. That's right. We love bringing back our favorite guest, and that is the affable Mike Price. Mike, how are you, pal? What's going on?
Hey guys, hi Kevin's. I'm good. How are you? Happy New Year.
Welcome back.
Happy New Year to you, sir.
Yeah.
Mike, if you recall, and a lot of you do, Mike did an outstanding job, according to us and the fans, on Batman Returns, and was kind enough to tag us throughout the Christmas season when a lot of people were talking about Batman Returns being a Christmas film, and Mike goes, yeah, it sucks. And I talked about it on Gutting the Sacred Cow.
You know what, Mike, I got to tell you, in our year in review retrospective, and we've spoken to other on other podcasts, yours, I think for both of us, it always comes up as one of the ones that really ruined a movie we thought we liked. And I especially, I said it during your taping. I went into that so excited to rewatch that movie, and after rewatching and then listening to your argument, and now I just tell everybody that, yeah, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Then
but thanks for that.
That I've achieved my dream.
He's like, nah, right for the greatest cartoon of all time. Nope, going on a podcast and telling everyone who will listen how Batman Returns is terrible. So funny. Tell the fine folks what you're up to and where we can find you.
Well, I am working currently on making the 5th and final season of F is for Family, which we will see on Netflix sometime late in this year, 2021, and continue to work on The Simpsons. New episodes are now running still on Sunday nights, and I have an episode coming up later on this year that also has a Hollywood element to it, which should be fun.
Cool. But Mike has chosen a film. This is something, Kevin Israel, this is, I think, our second film that we've allowed that is way more critically acclaimed than any other film that we have done. The first critically acclaimed film that we did was John Fugelsang did Gone with the Wind. Mike has chosen 2012's Argo.
what's more of a sacred cow than a movie that won the Best Picture Oscar?
That's why I said okay. That's why I said okay.
It fits.
It sure does. A 2012 budget of $44.5 million and a haul of $232 million. 2020 dollars, a budget of $50.6 million. $264.1 million haul. So a 5x plus ROI, that's pretty damn good. IMDb, as we all know, is a scale 1 through 10 with decimal points. IMDb score, Mike, Your Honor, 1 through 10 with decimal points. What did Argo score?
Boy, I'm sure it's like 9.2 or something. I bet it's way up there.
Kevin?
I'm saying 8.8.
Surprisingly enough, you guys are way off the mark. 7.7.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Good. Just people have with taste.
So you're not completely disappointed in humanity, Mike?
No.
Rotten Tomatoes, as we also know, is a 1 through 100 score percentage score. Kevin Israel, critic score, Rotten Tomatoes, Argo. Tell me.
I'm gonna shoot the moon with a 92.
Mike.
Yeah. As I recall, it was fairly universally praised and was on a lot of top 10 lists and everything. So I'm going to say, I'll just say just to up Kevin a little bit, 93.
96.
Wow. Okay.
96. That's
wow.
I'm not surprised. Mike, you were 100% right that this was a critic's darling. Audience score. Mike, you go first this time.
Well, if IMDb was 7.7, then I'll say 85.
Senor Israel.
I'm gonna say 79.
90.
Holy shit.
All right. Wow.
People love this too. Quotes, the obvious. Argo, fuck yourself. Funny the first time you hear that one. After that, well, we'll see.
The first 12 times it was okay. Yeah.
We get it. It's a callback. All right. It passes the rule of 3. We know. We're in comedy too. And the other one I did chuckle at this one. And this is just second and final quote I have. So you want to come to Hollywood and act like a big shot without actually doing anything? Yeah. You'll fit right in. Perfect.
Yeah. They sure ran Hollywood over the coals in that movie.
They did.
Boy,
they did.
They really ripped the lid off there. Yeah.
Kevin Israel, any quotes from you, sir?
History starts out as a farce. It ends up as a tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, none of these are going to be ones that you're saying to your buddy.
No.
And then I also liked when they were talking about the Shah and that they brought him in and he was dying of cancer. And they says, so we bring in any pricks that are dying of cancer? And the chief of staff says, only pricks that are on our side. And that is pretty much our foreign policy across the board.
That's true.
Mr. Price, how about any quotes from you?
Quotes. Aside from Death to America and Argo, fuck yourself. Boy, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of any that resonated.
This had scant amount of quotes. Although Mike, when says Death to America, does face east 4 times a day and on a rug while saying Death to America. 5.
There's a lot of this.
Oh my God!
A lot of stereotypical, very stereotypical Muslim acting in this movie, I will say.
The only thing missing was a spinning bow tie and a suicide vest.
That's right.
5 fun facts. First time in 8 years that a movie won Best Picture, but not Best Director. Jack Kirby, who did the storyboards, Kevin Israel nerd alert, also created the Hulk, Captain America, and a fuckload of Marvel characters. Affleck requested that all actors who were playing refugees, the ones that were in hiding, live with each other in 70s style housing. However, no word if he also made everyone grow out their pubes and give each other the clap to maintain the times. 4, with John Goodman's performance as John Chambers, this is the only time that a real-life Oscar winner is portrayed in a film that won the Academy Award for Best Picture.
Huh.
Number 5, while Chris Terrio was writing the script, he imagined Tony Mendez being played by, want to take a guess? A-lister, huge A-lister, huge name, huge.
Tom Cruise.
Tom Hanks.
Nope and nope. George Clooney.
Oh, well, he produced the movie, so there you go.
Yep.
Both Clooney and Affleck.
He was two Batman.
Yeah, they were both Batman, and they're both equally in the right to play a guy named Tony Mendez. They're both incredibly Hispanic guys.
Which is funny because I was going to include that when the real Tony Mendez was asked about why Affleck played him and not a Hispanic actor, he goes, I don't care, it's good. So it doesn't bother him. It doesn't bother him. It doesn't bother me. How about that?
I remember when I first saw the movie and he said his name, I was like, oh, he's still lying. Like, that's not his name. He's not a Tony Mendez.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I was like, holy shit, his name was really Tony. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. That's like me saying, hey, I'm Enrico Palazzo. Mike, you're about to say something. I don't want to cut you off.
That was his acting of being Hispanic was growing a beard. That was it.
And having a shaggy haircut.
Yeah.
I mean, what was his piece de resistance? Rolling up in a Pinto, blaring Lowrider, or I don't know, with rims. I don't know either. Well, listen, we're going to cut right to the chase because Mike Price, he's not here to talk about hair pieces and Affleck and Tony Mendez, but the deep cover personality. He's come on to do one thing and one thing only, Kevin Israel, and that is gut the sacred cow.
All right. Well, where do I begin? I was very excited to see this movie when it came out. I remember seeing it at my local cinema and thinking that it was cool. I usually am a big fan of these kinds of movies, historical whatevers, and seemed interesting. I'd never heard the story before. I'm old enough to remember the Iranian hostage crisis and watching it on TV and Ted Koppel and Nightline. And wow, this is a cool story. And even when I sat there in the theater watching it, I was like, oh, this is pretty good. I mean, I definitely think the Argo fuck yourself is one of the worst. In comedy writing, there's a term for that, which is called the Nakamura. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but in sitcom writing, it's called the Nakamura, which it goes back to, I believe, a running joke in an old episode of the Bob Newhart show. Not the original Bob Newhart show, but the one with Larry, Darryl, and Daryl, that one, where it was a guy named Mr. Nakamura, and he kept showing up. And it became the kind of joke that like, if it doesn't work the first time, and then it shows up as a runner like eight or more times, and it keeps getting worse and worse and worse, that's called a Nakamura. You don't want a Nakamura. And to me, that Argo Fuck Yourself is one of the great Nakamuras in movie history, where it was sort of funny the first time, and then it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And they said it at the very end of the movie. I think Alan Arkin says it again. I was like, oh, Jesus. So even at that, I was sort of like, okay. And then, as I do sometimes with a film like this, I'll hit Wikipedia or whatever to read about, oh, wow, what an amazing story. Wow, that's so exciting. Wow, I can't believe that. That's really unbelievable how those guys were like barely got out of Iran on that plane, and those guys were chasing after them like in an Indiana Jones movie, like racing to get the plane from stuff. Wow, that's absolutely amazing and unbelievable. And it turns out that it is unbelievable because it's all bullshit. That's the problem of this movie. Apart from other small things, there's a lot of good acting in it. Bryan Cranston is really good in it. Alan Arkin. I always love John Goodman. A lot of great acting from a lot of good people. But what the movie is about is so inflated. It's so crazily made up. It's unbelievable. It's like, it got me so mad after I watched it to read what the real thing was, that it just made me angry. And I watched it again last night, and I got angry all over again, because I'll talk you through it. So what really happened was this. The students took over the American embassy. 6 people got out of the American embassy. I mean, how they got to the Canadian embassy was fudged over a little bit, but I'm okay with that, because it was like they went to the British embassy first. They went to this place first. They went over. That's fine. They're all there. They get this idea to do this movie thing. That is also true. They found a script. They did do that. They created like a shell company. Then this guy goes. The Tony Mendez guy goes. There's some weirdness about what the timing is, when he got there, and how much time he was actually there. But everything past the premise, everything that makes the movie exciting is absolutely made up bullshit. So there's this big scene where he says, we're going to go out onto the bazaar, and for some reason they concoct some reason that you have to go out there and walk down through the streets of downtown Tehran, and fool everybody. That never happened. None of that happened. None of it happened. And then it's like this thing where the big thing is that like there's this thing where they're supposed to get to the airport, and then for some reason President Carter's administration pulls the authorization for the thing at the minute they're supposed to go to the airport. And then they had this big crazy thing where they're chasing down everybody to try to get the tickets back. And Ben Affleck and all the guys are there at the airport, like waiting, and they're like, "I'm sorry, your ticket's out of the computer." And it's like, "Try it again." And then they're calling around and everything. And they finally get it, and they make up this reason to talk to President Carter's chief of staff. And then he says, "Okay, go do it." None of that happened. None of it. Like, they got the tickets ahead of time. They had the tickets already. They just bought tickets. They had fucking tickets, So then they get to the airport. At the airport, there's this whole thing where they're like sweating it out. And like Ben Affleck spends this whole time earlier, like drilling them on like, who is your backstory? What's your name? What was your father's name? What was your mother's bra size? Whatever, all that stuff. All that stuff. None of that happened. They got to the airport in real life. They got to the airport at 5:30 in the morning. Very smart. Barely anybody was there. The Iran Revolutionary Guard, which in the movie is depicted as this really crazy like guy with insane eyes, like staring at them and yelling at them. None of that happened. They breezed through. There was hardly anybody there. They got on the plane. The plane took off. The end. So all this crazy, it's very exciting cinematic stuff where there's this whole thing where they're putting together the people's pictures, using shredded things, which also that did happen. That's fine. That did happen. But it didn't happen like that. It wasn't like, "Oh my God, stop the plane. Oh no, run. And it's literally like a scene out of Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, where like 15 Islamic guys pile out a crazy truck, and they're all like literally like that scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and they're all like chasing after the plane, and the plane's going to take it off. And there's even one part where I'm jumping ahead of myself because I'm so excited about this. There's a part where they're supposed to get on the bus, right? They get to the airport, and there's like this bus that's going to take them to the plane on the tarmac. And there's this scene where the guy's trying to start the bus and it doesn't start, and you see them all sweating. None of that happened. And then there's a scene where they're supposed to call the office out in LA to get Ben Affleck's cover story, and John Goodman and Alan Arkin are being held up because they're shooting some stupid TV show, and they barely get there in time. It's all bullshit. None of it happened. The real thing was like these guys. I mean, sure it was. It was a dangerous situation. Yeah, like if they had gotten caught, they would have been in trouble. They might have been shot. That's all true. But the reality is they got in a car, they went to the airport, they had the tickets, there was nobody there, they got on the plane took off, the end. So everything that the movie was about, was all built up to, is utter, complete bullshit.
It's hilarious. So it sounds as rudimentary as me going to go catch a flight to Vegas in September. Okay, show up at the airport, get my Uber, show up at the airport, check in. This way, sir. You have any bags to check? Yeah. Yep. Boom. On the plane. Right. There's I actually made a note while you're telling me that the Indiana Jones fucking analogy is perfect. The only thing missing was Affleck shutting the door going, "See you in hell, Lao Chi."
Exactly. As soon as the bus driver had trouble getting the bus in gear, I was like, that didn't happen. Because even if it did happen, they wouldn't have remembered it. Like, that wouldn't have been something that they were like, "Oh yeah, you know what? he had trouble getting it into first. There was a clutch problem.
Yeah. What he did was he pulled a Marty McFly in the first Back to the Future where he banged his head in the steering wheel and the DeLorean finally started. And then he soared down the way and caught 88 miles an hour.
That's the last thing that could, maybe that would have been more fun. Like the plane, goes, takes off and there's like flames on the tarmac, and then I found out later, even even more worse was that like this Tony Mendez guy, he certainly was involved. He did a lot of work. A lot of this idea wasn't even his idea. It was the idea of the Canadian guys, and Victor Garber plays the Canadian ambassador in it. His character was really super heavily involved in it. In the movie, he's just kind of this guy sitting there going, I hope everything works out. But he was really involved in it. Like, that's standard Hollywood stuff. But the main thing that the movie was about is just completely like, it doesn't make, it's just all made up.
So they decided to add a few moments of butthole puckering, to something that almost equates going to the grocery store to buy 7 items. It's just like,
exactly.
All right.
Right.
Yeah. But on the way to the grocery store, you almost get an accident.
Exactly, right, yeah. And then they did this thing at the very end, which also like infuriated me, because at the very end, they do this usually in those kinds of movies, like a movie set in recent times, like a really good movie, I thought, and there's some problems with that as well, because that's what happens when you take a historical thing and you try to make a movie out of it, is the Steven Spielberg movie from a couple years ago with Tom Hanks and Meryl Streep called The
Post.
The Post, right. I like that movie a lot. But anyway, they always do the thing where over the end credits, they show a picture of Ben Affleck, and here's the picture of the real guy who it's based on, and then with that movie, they did it with everybody, and down to the people who played the hostages or whatever, the people who, not the hostages, but the people who they got out, were all really good actors too. Victor Garber and Tate Donovan and whoever else. But they showed their pictures too, and they went down to like, they looked exactly like them, to like the mustache fibers, like they made a big show about like, see how exactly this is like the real thing. But then the fucking movie itself is all
just gonna say.
Yeah. So anyway,
the casting director should have gotten Best Picture, not Affleck.
Yeah, right.
Good.
And then I think Affleck's directing, it's fine. I don't want to betray a confidence, but I'll tell you this. I heard a story like from third or fourth hand from somebody who knew somebody who was in the movie that he directed called The Town, the one with
it's a good one
with the nuns and everything. That was good, according to this person. And this was maybe one of the first movies he directed, so maybe he got better by the time he did this. But that like they would sit around on set and like Ben Affleck would show up and he had no fucking clue. According to this, again, fourth hand information, that Ben Affleck had no fucking clue what he was doing.
What are you walking to say? All right, guys, what are you fucking doing today, huh? Where's craft services?
But he'd be like, I don't know.
Bill
like,
Burr?
he had to be sort of walked. No, it wasn't Bill Burr. Oh, that's me doing a Bill Burr.
Oh, that's me, Bill. Yeah.
But it wasn't Bill Burr. But that he like didn't know what he was doing, and like he had to be basically told everything by director of photography, whatever, or assistant director. But basically, he had no clue what he was doing as a director.
Now, Ben,
maybe he's better now.
Ben, as a director, what you do is you usually sexually harass the interns and the extras first, then we roll out the set. And then as a celebratory, you have a drink and a hooker at the end of the night to punctuate a great day of shooting.
I don't know.
What anything else, Mike, about this film that got you riled up?
That's about it. And it was weird because, like I said, I really enjoyed it when I saw it, and then when I back and read about it, I felt like I had been suckered. Like they got my $12 out of me, whatever, and they really made me mad. And then went on to win the Best Picture, really got me angry too. And this is going back. You mentioned, I think earlier you mentioned Good Will Hunting, which is another like first Oscar movie for old Ben, which according to Hollywood Legend was like the original screenplay that him and Matt Damon wrote wasn't so hot, and then it got completely rewritten. But that's the way it works in the Writers Guild, which is that like you can write the original script and then someone rewrites it a lot, but you still get your name is still on it.
We did
So anyway,
Good Will Hunting.
I'm not a big fan of that movie.
We did Good Will Hunting on this very show, not even about a month ago. And I think it was something like 20-some, 30-some rewrites to the point where Matt and Ben got so annoyed, they even slipped in a gay sex scene as part of the rewrites. No one called them on it. They didn't even give a shit.
Oh, yeah. Well, not to go off on that movie too much, but that has one of the worst things of all time to me, which I often quote, which is the thing where he goes, "How do you like those apples?" That is, to me, that is one of the worst joke moments in any. When he says to the guy, Matt Damon says to the guy, "Hey, do you like apples?" That's my favorite thing. He goes, "Do you like apples?" Well, sure. I mean, who doesn't? You know, whatever. Like, why would you walk up to a guy who's setting up your own joke? Do you like apples?
I've seen
those apples.
I've spewed out better insults on the playground in the second grade than that one. Believe me. Believe you me.
Anyway,
Kevin, I'll go first if you don't mind.
Please have at it.
I shall. These notes, of course, sponsored by guttingthesacredcow.com merch shop. Let's start off with an easy one. If the Iranians needed more inspiration to hate Americans, they could have brought out the Iron Sheik, and Iron Sheik come out and say, "Iran #1, America Hak Tui," and then do the camel clutch on a Jimmy Carter stuffed doll. I would let my kids and my wife and kids starve before I took any of these three jobs: embassy worker in Africa or the Middle East, teacher in an inner city public school, or power bottom in a gay porno, or as Kevin Israel calls it, interning. Celebrity lookalike for you all. You ready? Affleck looks like Ellis, the guy who got shot while on a walkie-talkie with John McClane in Die Hard.
Very true.
I was dying to get that one, so I had to go first. Yes.
Yeah, very true.
John Boy, come on. Oh, it's such a good fucking film. Yeah. Okay, we can all agree that fat John Goodman is better than skinny John Goodman. Skinny John Goodman looks like Larry King with 50 more pounds to lose.
Oh, poor Larry. Hope he's doing better.
Yeah. Skinny John Goodman looks like he's melting.
He does.
I know. I want to say one thing, if you don't mind.
I don't.
There's a really interesting thing in this, which is like, I think John Goodman must have it in his contract that in every movie he's in, there's a scene where they talk about, like, they go, "Oh, we're calling in this guy. Who's that?" And you cut to John Goodman walking around a corner. Like, every fucking John Goodman movie has that. It's in Arachnophobia, which one of his earlier movies.
Yeah.
This. It's always that same shot, like a kind of a follow camera dolly Steadicam shot of "Who's that?" Boom, 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 and you got John Goodman walking down the hallway.
Wouldn't you pay good money to see him and resurrect Brian Dennehy and a bunch of older, bigger, fat guys, jolly guys, kind of arms swinging as you would just, exemplify?
Totally.
Oh. Okay, how to find your hotel in Tehran. You ready? Make a right at the KFC and the next left at the guy hanging from a crane.
You can't miss it.
Is that on MapQuest?
MapQuest is brand new to Iran, I've heard. If they wanted to have a real fake movie in Iran, it would have featured women reading books, driving, as well as saying, "Well, you know what I think," without getting stoned to death. Every time I see Alan Arkin, I remember that he was in one movie and one movie alone. And that was the Jerky Boys movie. And I remember that movie was worse than Star Wars Episode 1.
Never saw it.
I did. In the theater. In the theater, I
Jesus.
saw that.
Wow.
I was a fan of Frank Rizzo. Still am.
I bet you saw the Garbage Pail Kid movie too.
I did not see that. I saw the preview. That came out when we were 10 years old. That looked fucking awful as a 10-year-old. That's how bad you knew it was. If I'm saying, ugh. The only task more painstaking than taping back together thousands of files and photos are being front row seats at a Travis Tritt concert, sitting through an entire improv showcase, or rewatching Ken Jeong's stand-up special. These are all smart jokes, people. You better appreciate the fuck out of them. Is it me, or do 97% of people from the 70s look completely unfuckable?
The collars.
Everything.
Big ass fucking collars.
Forget the collars. Forget the face, the hair. Thank you. The hair, the faces. It just seems there are very few. Like when you go back and watch some of these older movies, and you see some of these women who are like the supposed smoke shows of your time, you're like, 7? Like Linda Carter, Wonder Woman, is still a fucking 9. All right. I forgot who was it. Barbara Bach, who was like in the Spy Who Loved Me, and James the Bond one. The one who married Ringo Starr, the huge tits. Right, yeah. She's a fucking 10. But there are other, maybe a couple of the Charlie's Angels. But other than that, a lot of these older women actresses back in their time who were the smoke shows, it's just like, I don't see it. Like, it's especially the 70s. It's like,
I feel like a lot of it was how they wore their makeup and their hair, the hairstyle. Like nothing was, it wasn't specifically to be like like women now, especially like hot, like leading women dressed and look to be sexual. Right. Back then they dressed and looked to be like almost like a fashionista. Like they wanted to look like a statue as opposed to something you wanted to have sex with.
Yeah, strolling down the runway at Milan. Yep. Now they all have fucking booty shorts and tramp stamps and shaking their ass on TikTok.
Just look at Kim Kardashian and that's what you should look like.
Yeah.
Right, Kev?
Meow. The last 20 minutes are the best part by far, but it's like seeing Santa Claus put his beard on in your kitchen going, that's not real. I know a fair amount of people who like this film. I don't know anyone who admits to owning this film. This film is not going to annoy anyone or stand out. I mean, I saw this when it came out on Netflix, right when it came out on the discs, on DVDs. And I still get DVDs because I don't feel like waiting 6 months for a new feature to come out. Thank you very much. And I said again the same exact thing last night after a rewatch. Kevin Israel, you ready? It's fine. This film is just fine. By the way, as Mike said, it won Best Picture, which is complete fucking horseshit with all of the with all the historical inaccuracies in this film. And the film I felt that was insanely disrespected and overlooked by not winning is Django Unchained by far and away. Excellent film versus
much more memorable too. I mean, this is a movie that like Argo is a movie that like so many Best Picture movies are forgotten, like largely forgotten. But like a movie like Django Unchained, like I'm sure it's still being quoted and like people talk about it now.
I dare say, I was to say, Django, the dentist, Christoph Waltz is a fucking genius. The dentist character is the lines he goes, "No, I will not say Vida Zen because that means goodbye. I plan on never seeing you again." Like shit like that just stands out. This film, I mean, look, this film has next to zero or little rewatchability. I have no desire, not because I hate it. It's just I don't care. There are other things I'd rather watch. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say one thing that made this movie, I think even at the time, and I'll just a little bit of a personal, whatever you want to call it, trivia. I was actually at the Oscars in 2013. I got a ticket to it because I worked on a short we made for The Simpsons called The Longest Daycare that was nominated in the Best Animated Short category. And so they had an extra ticket that I got. And I sat like in the 9th mezzanine, like all the way at the top of the theater. So I could see, and Seth MacFarlane was the host that year. And he was like a little tiny postage stamp. Anyway, but I kind of predicted that it would win. You know why? Because it was a movie that made movie people were the heroes.
Of course.
So that's a good point. There's a lot of movies in the last 10 or 15 years that won the Best Picture, like The Artist, which is another one. What? Remember that one at all?
No,
that was the silent movie.
Yep.
It's a largely silent movie. It was fine, but it's about the hero of it is Hollywood. So it's like make a movie where the hero is Hollywood or it's about Hollywood. And if it's even halfway decent, you'll probably get nominated for Best Picture.
Well, which actually I'll shit on your point just for a hot second. The one film that did not win that deals with Hollywood, and I absolutely fucking love it. It should be taught as a flawless film in all film classes. LA Confidential. How did that not fucking win? Film is perfect.
So good.
Perfect film. Did not win. Anyway, back to Argo. But you should do a Simpsons episode with Argo. Have them do a thing. Something.
Well, you know what? We actually did a thing. There was a Simpsons episode that came out around that time that I wrote a line for, and I wonder if it made it in, which was one where we kind of did like a little bit of an Argo shout out, because it was one where it was about where Homer was starting to show bootleg movies. and then they came and the FBI came and like tried to arrest him, and they ended up hiding out at the embassy of like the Swedish embassy or something, and they were like, what are we going to do to get out of here? And I think Marge said in a line I pitched, I don't know if it got in the show or not, but she said, maybe we should do what they did in that movie. It was like, we should do what they did in that movie Argo, the movie about the Hollywood people that won all the. It was like, we should do what we did in that movie about the movie people that won all the movie awards. That's what it
smart.
was. Anyway, I'm not sure if it made it into the show or not, but anyway, we did a little bit of an Argo in that episode.
Quick aside before I get back to my final point. My favorite Simpsons, where you do a whole movie tribute, and I think not many people got it the entire episode, and I love it, is where Lisa does the Run Lola Run whole episode. I thought that was so fucking brilliant, and I love Run Lola Run.
Episode.
Oh man, it was, and the music that everything and all the different aspects and nuance of
brilliant.
Hope you worked on that one.
I didn't. That was like a year or two before I got in. But Matt Selman, who wrote that episode, is one of our executive producers now, and that's a great episode. That's also where Homer got his thumb cut off and everything. It's called Trilogy of Error.
Oh,
great
okay.
Episode.
Yeah, that was. I love. That's a great one. That's so under the radar, I think. Okay, does this pass the remote test? No fucking chance, Mike. What the remote test is, if you're flipping around on cable, you happen to stumble upon it at any point in the film, you drop the remote and say, "I know what I'm doing for the next whatever." This film, there's no chance. I'm flipping right through this shit. I don't dislike it. It's fine. It's fine. 6.5 out of 10. That's my number. Kevin Israel, the floor is yours.
So it's funny when Kevin told me that you had chosen this movie, I was like, that's a strange pick, and I'm not sure. I saw it in the theater, and then I never saw it again or thought about it again. I remember liking it, and that was it. I think I even had to ask Kevin, was this the one with Ben Affleck? Because it didn't even like resonate in my mind. So and on rewatch, it didn't bother me all that much. It just played like any kind of historical drama. And I almost texted Kevin, and I was to be like, I don't know what point Mike's going to make. I don't know if it's going to be a cinematography issue. Does he not like Ben's hair? Is it going to be like, is it some kind of minutia that we're just too dumb to pick up on? And then I went and read the Wikipedia entry, and I was like, I know exactly where he's going with this. And you're 100% right. When you know that the inaccuracies and the stuff that's really inflated, the movie definitely loses a lot. And it's really, you're right, it's really, really apparent, because the movie plays the stuff that's historically accurate, it feels very faithful, and then suddenly it breaks into this dramatic sequences that you're just like, and life doesn't happen like that. It happens in movies, but it doesn't happen where you're running through the airport and the guy's just yelling at you for no reason. And what bothered me about that scene was the guy yelling at them spoke English.
Yeah.
And he knew they were Canadian or North Americans. And he was yelling at them. And then suddenly goes, I've got to check on you. And it's like, well, why the fuck were you talking English the whole time? Why? And then he goes and and he even makes a phone call and has a call in English, and then comes back and is like, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, this was just created to create tension. And they could have at least had another guy come in and be like, I can translate or something. But that whole scene was that bothered me so much. And the minute that whole exchange happened, I just knew that never happened.
One question, I might have missed this. The one guy who ended up speaking Farsi, did they ever announce or allude that he does speak Farsi? Because there was a good 5 fucking minutes that went by that they're talking in Farsi and everyone's shitting their pants, and then he busts out in Farsi what's going on. Did they ever clue us in that they said they spoke it?
I think when they were doing in the Pentagon or wherever they were originally laying out who everybody was that was a hostage or was trapped there, that they did say somebody spoke the language and was more educated on the situation. I can't remember if it was him, but they did say somebody spoke Farsi.
Could have been.
Yeah, that's a detail that got swept under the rug real fucking fast for me to go, wait, what? Like, hold on a second. Okay.
So once I read the history of the movie, your secret was up, Mike, and I knew where this was going. It was almost like you're going to see an awesome magic trick, and right before you get in, you look it up and go, how did he do that? And then you watch the magic trick, and you're like, I knew where this was going. It was behind his head the whole time. I knew. But I will tell you this. My own anecdote of finding out something true about a movie that was supposed to be real. I had a chance to go to the opening of The Rookie with Dennis Quaid.
I love that film.
And yeah, so did I. I thought it was great. And afterwards, they had the after party, and I was standing around by the food or something, and I turn around, and Dennis Quaid is standing like right next to me. And he looked at me, and I had to say something. So I was just like, it's a great movie. And he just goes, yeah, really just want to get the fuck out of here and get a cigarette. And I was like, okay. And I don't smoke, so I couldn't even be that guy. I'd be like, yeah, let's go out and have a cigarette. So I said, oh yeah.
You should have said, Dennis Quaid, I loved you in Jaws 3D.
No, what I wanted to say was your Doc Holliday was actually my favorite.
No.
Yes, 100%.
No.
100%.
No.
100%.
Come on,
Kilmer was so much.
I used to be a dentist. I was proud to be a dentist. I'm not ashamed of my. Anyway, so I said, yeah. I said, it's an amazing story, and he goes, yeah. You know what they left out? All the other women he was fucking, and that he left his wife as soon as he made the majors. I was like, oh.
Now that's a better movie.
I was like, what? That sucks.
Sounds like I like Dennis Quaid. It's a great story.
Well, the one thing.
And I like walked away, and my buddy came up to me and he's like, "You having fun?" And I was like, "No, Dennis Quaid just ruined the whole movie for me."
The one thing that they kept in that movie, which, to their credit, which I would have been the first one to say no, is that the big deal. I mean, this is a few years ago, right? The big deal, his big break was that he got to be a pitcher for the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah.
like, woohoo!
Yeah. And then the best
part, the big time. Yeah. I'm playing at Tropicana Field, baby.
In front of 16,000 people.
Yeah.
In front of 8,000 people on Groupons here. And by the way, if I have a career year, they're not going to resign me. They can't afford me. Oh, that's funny.
Anyway, back to Argo. Yeah. I will say this. This really did play like two very different movies. The lead up to it almost played like a heist movie where they're planning this whole thing and they're making the movie, and you have John Goodman's character and Alan Arkin, and it almost felt like fun the way they were doing it. And the table read where they showed everybody, and they showed the blue guy who was a Wookiee that was just painted blue. And I sat there, I was like, I want to see that. I want to see what that table read was like. I want to see that movie. I know it's going to be terrible, but that was for me was almost the most interesting part of the movie because it was so bizarre. The rest of the movie just kind of played like, and especially out of the 80s, we've all seen a ton of hostage movies, and we've seen Middle Eastern people just be the token bad guys, 19 of them jammed into like a little Jeep, trying not to fall out. And we've seen all that. So to me, the best part of the movie was the beginning where you had the government actually approving this crazy idea to make a fake science fiction movie, which then when you find out and you do read, like Mike said, that it didn't really play out that way. And the CIA wasn't as heavily involved, and it was much more Canada's involvement. And I mean, obviously the main character did contribute a lot, but it changed everything for me. But I thought it really felt like once Ben Affleck gets into Iran, it feels like a completely different movie than what they were sort of building up to. And it stops being, which maybe to its credit, it stops being fun, and it starts like being like, oh shit, these people are going to die. Right. But then again, you find out that they were really never in that serious imminent danger that they're, I mean, obviously you don't want to be stuck in Iran during a civil uprising when they're calling for the heads of Americans, but there weren't mobs in the streets burning Americans to death. So it really changes the tenor of the movie.
Yeah.
I do like one of the things that stuck out to me was right in the beginning. Any movie set made more modernly, but set in the 80s or the 70s or even before, has to remind you that people smoked.
Yes.
It's just like, in case you forgot, people did this a lot, and they immediately focused in on this ashtray just full of cigarette butts. It's like, in case you didn't know when this took place back when people did that shit. And then you see Ben Affleck just sucking down cigarettes and everybody smoking. It's like, okay, we get it. People smoked in the 70s. You don't have to like remind us. But every movie that takes place back then, that's the little historical point they always pick on.
True.
To Kevin Goatee's point, I 100% agree with him. This movie makes it clear that I am a huge pussy. Because I just looked at them. First of all, I would have never been like, oh, I can be an attaché in the Middle East. No, I'll go. You know what? I'm gonna go with I'm gonna be a cook or something. I like that. Just the idea of being stuck there. Every movie about the Middle East makes the Middle East look like the most unappetizing place to end up possible.
You mean like Good Will Hunting? You know, like Good Will Hunting did for Boston?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So it's any of these movies that I've watched, especially the more realistic military movies, I would imagine it probably is really like that. But I just sat there watching these guys, and when they're all rounded up and then they have the fake execution, I was like, did any of them shit themselves? Because I would have definitely been the guy to shit myself.
That would have been me for sure. Yeah, that was harsh. That was a hard scene.
Yeah, it was a lot of this does remind you of, and it's funny that this is all now so long ago because I didn't remember this. I'm not old enough to remember this exact incident, but I remember the skyjackings, and I remember, in the Reagan era, and I remember that was a real concern. And then I remember when they started making the movies about it to sort of glamorize American military. And it's crazy now that kids probably watch this and go, "Oh wow, that really happened." It's just weird to me that that's so far history now.
Well, thank God it did, because Chuck Norris would not have a career doing the Delta Force movies.
And that was the exact movie I was thinking.
Yeah,
and that was the exact movie I was thinking. And you know what? It's funny that you say that, because I'm pretty sure it's in that movie that they're going through the passengers trying to figure out who's a Jew, and they rip open one of their shirts, and the guy has a Star of David, and they like drag him to the front. And I can't remember if they shoot him or not right away, but I wear a Star of David, and whenever I get on a plane, I put it in my pocket.
Wow. Superstitious much?
Just listen.
Yeah.
Why take the chance?
Yeah.
I mean, they'll see my nose and they'll figure it out.
They'll just see your name, Israel. Right. I mean,
they see that ID. They can look at me. They'll pull my shirt and go, ha ha ha! Look at you don't even need the necklace. Like, look at.
Oh yeah, the terrorists will look at you and be like, "Oh, you're one of us. You started up much earlier on."
Hilarious.
But anyway, so there's Mike. You hit the nail on the head. There's not a lot to say about this movie beyond it shows what happens when you take an interesting story and you have to Hollywood it. Because if this movie was made to be 100% true, it wouldn't have been that interesting of a movie. Maybe if they played more into the movie side of it and a little less about the nonsense in Iran, but I think they had to do that. And Ben Affleck, I think, acknowledged in a number of times that they had to talk stuff up. Apparently he pissed off New Zealand. Who's ever pissed off New Zealand before he got censured by New Zealand because he made them out like New Zealand and UK. He made it out like they turned them away, and they didn't actually do that, and they were helpful too. So it gets changed.
But I mean, there could have been a choice to make, which would be to not make the movie at all, or to do like a little episode of like something on PBS or whatever.
I was just gonna say,
tell the story.
This would be a perfect Ken Burns six-parter in PBS. That's exactly what I was gonna say.
or a half an hour, or whatever. Like, you don't have to go and spend millions of dollars to make a movie that's complete and utter bullshit. And maybe the fact for me that fact that it won the Best Picture, and it is so false, is what makes me not as like it as much as if it had just come out and like whatever. Maybe I wouldn't have been so mad about it.
Kevin, give me a number.
You're right. I'm dead there with you. 6.5.
No shit. Mike, give me a number.
Yeah, 5.
Okay. It's funny how this won Best Picture and was obviously insanely historically inaccurate, but one of my all-time favorite films which is actually a historical moment, is JFK, and that didn't win shit. And that film was pretty damn on the book because I read all the books. That's that's probably my favorite historical thing I've read. I don't know how many books on that and RFK and shit like that. But they got that. God. Stone got that right. So
no,
a lot.
Don't get me started on that. All right, I'll do that movie next time.
Oh, I love
it. That is a bigger lie. That movie is one of the worst, most irresponsible, unbelievable con job. It's worse than like QAnon almost.
Can we have him next?
Like getting people upset about stuff that did not happen.
I love
Lee Harvey Oswald shot Kennedy. Lee Harvey Oswald shot Kennedy. And I'll just say, here's a preview of my next episode of your thing. The guy that Kevin Costner played in that movie, Garrison.
Yeah.
One of the worst human beings that ever lived. He was like Trump before Trump. In that all he wanted to do was to make a name and get publicity for himself. So he made up this whole thing about the Tommy Lee Jones character named Clay Shaw.
Clay Shaw and Clay Bertrand.
He made it all up just to get headlines and everything, and just like went all in on this crazy thing. None of it is true. It's even more bullshit than this one. Argo is like fucking the Encyclopedia Britannica compared to JFK. JFK is it's very well made. It's great stuff in it. John Goodman is in it as well. Fat John Goodman is in that. Yeah. But anyway, it's so awful. It's like irresponsible.
Wait, Goodman's not in JFK. He's not in JFK. No, it's John Candy.
Oh, I'm thinking of John Candy. You're right. Fat John Candy. Anyway, it's completely irresponsible. It's one of my most hated movies of all time.
I love the CIA even said that he worked for them after the fact, after all that investigation went down. That all happened.
It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit.
I want this episode to happen.
It'll happen.
I don't want to get into a whole thing about it. But JFK, of course, is a giant can of worms. But in my view, and I used to be a conspiracy guy about it, like when I was much younger. In my view, there's only one answer, which is that Oswald did it himself, and it's like Occam's razor. The simplest thing is the better. Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk about that movie anytime you want to.
I will. We already know your film because I've read 18 fucking books.
I can't believe I didn't think of that for this one.
God damn it! Anyway, I love it.
Next time.
Son of a bitch, okay. I love it. All right, 6.5, 5. Okay, let's go to our Amazon 5-star reviews. This brought back memories from my childhood and about what happened at the embassy. It was a very difficult time for everybody back then, and it took great people like Tony Mendez, as well as our friends in Canada, who I got to serve with when I went to Iraq. When I went to the Iraq War years later, and it was an honor to meet them. Signed, Walter Mitty. The directors, producers, scriptwriters, etc. just prove that great movies can be made without all the cursing, sex, occultism, and gory violence that is pushed down our throats every time we look for entertainment. Why can't 90% or more of our movies inspire our families like this instead of the other way around? Hollywood, take care of the next generation. What they learn and see in movies is what this nation will become in the future. Let's give our children some good, nourishing mind food. Was this written by cannibals or the biggest blowhard you hate to see at PTA meetings? Next one. There are a few F-bombs dropped in the movie, but I did not feel like they detracted from the film at all. There was no nudity or sex scenes. Like they're going to start having an orgy in the middle of the Canadian embassy while their fucking lives are at stake, right? There is violence and a dead body hanging from a construction lift. If you are overly sensitive to that sort of thing, you may want to reconsider watching. No, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and I believe that it earned a full 5 stars. And no, I did not pull this review from the Christian Science Monitor.
It feels like there's some magazine out there for the really religious and then they have movie reviews, so you know what you can watch, your Christian eyes don't burn out.
You think anytime they see the film that says starring Kirk Cameron, 5 stars, don't even need to bother. Amazon 1-star reviews. Hate giving reviews unless I choose to.
It's time for Amazon 1-star reviews.
Yep, that's it. Next one, bad, frowny face. Next one, He spent 15 seconds on the Shaw and our role there, and Canada took the lead in the story in real life. A Hollywood ending is now a Hollywood everything but the first 15 minutes of the film. Honestly, it wasn't artfully done. As if our politics in the 80s wasn't ugly enough. Globally, man makes period film for self to star in, depicts an impossibly shallow political perspective as an even shallower wins an award and sleeps with nanny. Signed, Jennifer Garner. Argo never quite figures out what to do besides make money and make Ben Affleck look gorgeous amidst a sea of 70s dorkiness and bad hairdos. If you're looking to waste a Saturday night with a mashup of trite Hollywood fodder, Argo may satisfy you. If, on the other hand, you seek a political thriller, stay far away from this phony movie about a phony movie.
Wait, I just thought of something him getting that star, what was
the intelligence star or whatever.
The intelligence star. I read a lot of espionage type books, and that's always the thing that happens. We're giving you an award, but nobody will ever know you got it. And then the reluctant hero just stomps off and goes, "Don't bother," and just stomps off. And then when I forgot that even happened in the movie, and I assume he actually did get the star because they show it. But I feel like either every book was based off of that experience, but that happens in so many stories where they get this award, but nobody can ever know.
What is the point of that? It's like, cool, I have a star that I can't show anybody. Motherfucker, just give me an extra $35,000 a year in my salary, and that I'm cool with.
And apparently they literally open the box, they show it to you, then they close it and they put it back in a vault somewhere.
Damn.
Yeah, great.
Do I get a raise?
Yeah, that's all I want. Exactly. Yeah. Can I get a new car that you guys lease and at least do what they do in Armageddon? I don't want to pay taxes ever again. Yeah. Ever. Last 1-star review from Amazon, and it's all in caps, so you can imagine the emotion and intensity. Cannot understand why this movie won Best Picture of the Year. Must be all politics. I was totally bored with it. Wish that Amazon would give me my money back that I spent.
Jeff Bezos wrote that.
Actually, I lied. I have one more Amazon review. The Pianist, however, was a good U.S. movie. Argo? Blech. Did we really wear our hair out like that? I never want to run into anyone who says they love The Pianist, right? This is that, by the way, Kevin, that film, on the Mount Rushmore of films that people say they like just to seem smart.
Wasn't that the movie where that was the Italian director, right? Who went crazy?
No, that was Adrian Brody playing the piano.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
All right.
Holocaust movie.
Critics, I did this out of order. Critics 5-star reviews. Affleck continues to impress audiences with his keen eye for direction, knowing just when to fall back and allow this top-notch cast the freedom to interpret events in a way that will compel most viewers. Ben Affleck has delivered a knuckle muncher.
Is that a sex move?
Yeah, I was just going to say, is this lesbian porn he's watching? Oh, that's rug muncher. Sorry, Kevin. Ben Affleck has delivered a knuckle muncher of a thriller and a satire on Hollywood, both in one unlikely package. The subject matter hasn't lost any of its edge, especially with the continued bedlam in the Middle East. Sometimes it is the most absurd ideas that make for the most compelling stories in cinema. Rotten Tomatoes says 343 fresh reviews for this film, 15 rotten reviews. Wow. So let's go right to the critics' 1-star reviews. The film plays out in the broadest of strokes, with Affleck employing a lowest common denominator tone that would make the most hackneyed of Hollywood filmmakers proud. Only 2 scenes do more than hint at the poetic potential of the premise. Second billing to unabashed jingoism. Signed, Donald Trump. No, I'm just kidding. It is the definition of far-fetched popcorn patriotic heroics. Undeniably rousing, but deeply irresponsible. Argo fans the flames surrounding historical events likely to remain raw in the memory of many viewers. And Argo is just so-so.
Well done. Well done.
Kevin Israel, did Mike Price gut the sacred cow?
I think he did. I think this is 2 for 2.
He is.
Wow.
I think he is too. At first, Mike, I swear to God, I text Kevin, go, how the fuck is he going to do this? No one's going to get angry. No one's going to get emotional. No one's going to go on social media going, what? Argo? Fuck him. No. But here we are. And we're sitting here and after rewatching, after doing a little bit of fact checking with the history part and remembering that was all glamorized, especially the last 20 minutes. I agree. I will co-sign on that gutting. So Mike Price, take a bow. You are indeed
100%.
Right.
Hey, Mike, before we get out of here, tell the folks, where can we find you? What's going on? Bring us into your world.
Well, if you're looking for me on Twitter, which is all I really do, my handle on Twitter is at Mike Price in LA. And I also have a F is for Family Twitter account, which is FIFF Netflix, which just basically talks about the writing process of the show.
Cool.
That's about it. I don't do anything else.
KevinGoatee.com on Twitter, Gutting the Sacred Cow, GTSC podcast. If you have not yet done so, for the love of Christ, give us that 5-star rating, 2 or 3 sentence review. It does help. We hit number 15 on the iTunes Top 100 in film and reviews. Love to see that keep climbing. And because of you, we have climbed. Thank you all so very much. And if you do want to advertise with us, guttingthesacredcow@gmail.com. Mike Price, it is an absolute honor and privilege to have you back again. And of course, the invite is out there for you to come on and back to take down JFK. And I will see you. And I will see you in hell. Mike, thanks so much again. There. I can't wait to do this.
When I'm done talking about that movie, your head will go back into the left.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah.
When I'm done, you're gonna want to put you're gonna put a wig on your head like David Ferry did, Joe Pesci's character.
Will you need as much time as the movie was long?
3 hours and 10 minutes of joy. Love it. And listen, tell the boss, Bill Burr, he's more than welcome to come to our podcast and do a film as well. So
I will.
Awesome. Listen, thanks again, Mike. We love you. Awesome job. Kevin Goatee, Kevin Israel. We will see you later. Take care.